Marhaba, Son. My name is Simon Hill. Hit the like button, subscribe, share this video, leave a comment. Thanks for tuning in with me. I'm filming this video here in Istanbul, Turkey, and today we're going to be talking about my experiences as a black traveler here in Turkey. And if you've never seen any of my other videos, content, anything, I highly suggest that you watch my previous videos to get a deeper understanding of what it is I'm trying to do on my channel with my voice. And if you don't have the time to do that, I'll briefly explain. The purpose of my channel is to be a shining light, to help guide, warn, prepare black travelers when we go abroad to different places and spaces, especially ones where we are not readily seen or acknowledged in society, because there is a severe lack of content related to black travelers going abroad to different countries. Okay, some people might say, well, why are you focusing only on black people? If you don't want race or racism to be a concern, why are you talking about it? The purpose of talking about it is because it does exist in the world. Race is a social construct, but it's a construct that we all take part in every day, because when I walk outside, I'm not going to be viewed or treated like a Turkish person, regardless of how I dress, how I talk, anything like that. Okay? I'm going to be viewed as other because of my phenotypical difference. And I also want to make this a point. First and foremost, I could talk all day about good things that I really like about Turkey. Like I've done in all my other videos, there are things I really like about all the countries I've been to. But my duty and my job with my life is to always fight against white supremacy and anti-blackness wherever it appears, because it is the danger, the cancer of the planet that is killing all people, right? If you're going to watch this video and get offended, if you're going to watch this video with some other agenda, if you're going to watch this video only trying to discredit me for maybe one thing I said wrong or maybe one point that I missed, fuck you, suck a dick. Nobody cares about what you have to say. This is my channel, my voice, and I'm going to say what I want to say. And I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings. I'm not trying to shit on anybody's country. I'm very cognizant of the fact that when I make these videos, it might come across like I'm punching down on a poorer country. That's not the point. I'm not some American that's trying to shit on every country in the world. I'm only here to try to help guide black people who want to travel. All right? So if you want the short answer about whether there's racism in Turkey or whether anti-blackness exists in Turkey, the short answer is yes. You got that answer. You can click away right now. If you want a deeper explanation, stay tuned. So the history of anti-blackness, racism in Turkey goes very deep. And I want to be very clear about what I mean about racism. I'm talking about anti-blackness, anti-Africanness. Other people might say, well, they discriminated against Armenians and Kurds. Those are different races of people. Those are not races. Those are ethnicities, because they have very similar visual phenotypical traits compared to the average Turkish person. I'm talking specifically about anti-blackness, people that would look like me, that are visibly viewed or treated as Africans. So we can start deep and go into the Ottoman Empire and the founding of modern Turkey. But for black travelers, if you're coming to Istanbul, which is one of the largest cities in Europe, unfortunately, and by the way, someone stupid is going to be in the comments say, Istanbul's in Europe and Asia. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Fuck you. You know what I meant. Istanbul is a large city. You know, almost 15, 20 million people live here. But it is a very homogenous country. Now, some people might say that it's a very multi-ethnic country, but by and large, you don't know who's Russian, who's Serbian, who's Armenian, who's Kurdish, just by looking at the people. By and large, the people here in Istanbul look very much the same as everyone else. So yes, there are some black people here, but they are obviously, and we'll talk about this more, treated and viewed as a lower class of society. So if you come to Turkey as a black person, expect to be stared at, expect to be pointed at, expect to be gawked at, expect to to be followed around the stores. These are some of the things I call the classics. These are the classics of a society that has anti-blackness ingrained in them. There have been many times when I've walked into an establishment to just do some shopping, and I have been followed around the store by the people that work there, and I have been followed around by the security guard. There have been times at the mall where security is putting an extra eye or attention on me. And by the way, I don't always dress this colorful and loud and exuberant. This is just for today for the YouTube. But yeah, if you come to Turkey, expect to be treated with the royal treatment of suspicion. And any black person who is honest with themselves will admit that when they've been in certain places, they have been viewed with suspicion. And that has happened to me here in Turkey. Counter argument coming up. Some people will say, well, they just want to follow you around to make sure you're okay in the store. I hate this argument. It doesn't make sense. It's not true. Nobody's following anybody else around the store to make sure they're okay. They're not following around the grandmas. They're not following around the other people. It only happens to darker skinned people, and in this case, black people. And some people might say, well, they're pointing at you and looking at you and gawking at you in the street because you look different. Okay, if we accept that, I thought Turkey was a multicultural nation. You guys advertise all the time that this is a place where many different people have come and settled. So if that's the case, why is it that black people are viewed with such curiosity? And I've made this point in several of my other videos, but we should not be accepting as black travelers to be used as props or to be seen as some exotic animal, because we're not animals. We're not something to be pointed at like a pink pigeon. We're normal people with 2 legs, 2 arms, 2 eyes, 2 ears, and a brain, heart, and soul. So let us stop pointing at us and making us feel odd. All right? And finally, we have to acknowledge that many times, they're not pointing at us and gawking at us because of, our difference. We look different or we look cool. No, it's because a lot of the times people are aware of the negative stereotypes about black people. It goes without saying that this whole planet has been infected with the idea that white is right and black is whack. All right. So if I haven't, I want to acknowledge my privilege first and foremost as an American abroad. Regardless of me being black, I am an expat who is a digital nomad who works online making US dollars, and that has helped a lot with everything that I've been doing here. Since I've been in Turkey, I've seen inflation go through the roof. I mean, the prices have risen almost 20% since I came here in October to be with my girlfriend. And yeah, I'm filming this video in April, and since October, prices have risen exponentially. It's been insane. Also, I want to say that I acknowledge my privilege as a man who's able to travel abroad. If I were a female traveler, I wouldn't have some of the luxuries that I do in this patriarchal world we live in. I don't have to worry so much about safety, harassment, and that sort of thing. So I can acknowledge my privilege. So I hope if you are a non-black viewer viewing this, that you can acknowledge yours too. Okay, so like I said, I came to Turkey in October to be with my girlfriend, and I've been staying here with her in this neighborhood called Sultan mostly. If you want to know some background, the places that I've seen in Turkey have been a lot of parts of Istanbul. I'm not going to butcher the names. I've been all over the city. I could post pictures for days. And I've been to Marmaris, which is a resort city in the south where my girl is from. So this is what I've seen of Turkey. Okay. Yeah. Now, if I've spoken about how black people are viewed here in my experience, I want to talk about the Z word. All right. The Z word, for those who don't know, is zenci. And zenci is a Turkish word derived from the word for chains, which, if you did not know, the Ottoman Empire, which was one of the longest lasting empires in history and one of the largest as well, which was run by Turkish people, enslaved millions of black Africans. And They enslaved so many that to this day, the word for black people in Turkish is zenci, which literally derives from chains, the people who are in chains. Uh, I was called this word twice in one day. Okay, now I want to say, some people are going to say, well, it's a Turkish word and slavery wasn't so bad in Turkey. So, don't get mad about the word zenchi because it's no different than Negro or black person, and we don't mean anything racist by it. With that argument in mind, if I were to say in English, we have women and we have prostitutes, and we call women and prostitutes whores, you would not say that's cool. What you're saying here is we have black people and we have slaves, and we both call them zenchis, the people that we enslave. You can step out of your shoes for 1 second and imagine that were you. Imagine if in English the word for Turkish people was, we have Turks and we have cockroaches, and we call them both motherfuckers. I mean, seriously, I hope the example makes sense what I'm trying to say. I am not saying these slurs or these things to try to offend anybody. What I'm trying to do is educate you as to why this word is wrong. Stop calling black people zenchis. So I went to the Turkish islands. Here, all right, not the Turkish islands. Let me calm down. All right, so here in Istanbul, they have about 5 islands outside of the city that you can take a ferry to, right? And me and my girl wanted to go on a date on the weekend to these islands. We're taking the bus. I mean, not the bus, the train. The train station is right behind us. And as we're walking into the train, I'm dressed pretty normal, a jacket, beanie. I was even wearing my COVID mask, nondescript. I'm walking into the train, and this group of men are leaving the train, and they say zenchi when they see me. And I had just found out about this word and the history of this word the day before as I walk into the train. And I was so hurt and so shocked by being called this that it kind of ruined the rest of the day for me, honestly. I mean, I've been called nigger before, but it really bothers me every time I come to Muslim countries, specifically Muslim countries. That really bothers me, how we get viewed and treated and called such nasty derogatory terms. And then later we take the boat, we go to we take the ferry, we go to the islands, and we go to one of the biggest islands. I think it's number 5, and we walk up this hill to go to this church, and the church is closed. So me and my girl, we end up buying a bottle of wine. We drinking wine, looking out on the water, enjoying ourselves, listening to music. And this small Turkish man comes up to my girl and asks to take a picture with me. Once again, you guys know how I feel about people wanting to take pictures with black people. I do not like it. We are not props. We're not supposed to be your token black friend on your iPhone to show off with your friends so you can say the N-word with your friends silently. No, I do not like that. But he came up to ask to take a picture with me. I asked my girl to ask him why he wanted to take a picture, and he said, because I like zenchis. I was taken aback, and I was sick, and needless to say, I had a good time, or at least I pretended to have a good time with my girl, but the whole day I was really just kind of fucked up. And people say words shouldn't have power over you, but I'm so disappointed in humanity at this point that black people continue to get disrespected like this across the world, and people continue to not have consideration or care about our well-being. They don't have any remorse. So I spoke about zenchi, and I think this is a good time to talk about the Ottoman Empire. If you come to Turkey in general, many people, Turkish people, are indoctrinated and taught in schools to value and love and cherish and to honor and respect the Ottoman Empire. They view the Ottoman Empire as a great, glorious thing that happened in history. But I would argue that all empires that ever existed in history were wrong. And I'm not just saying this to, bash Turkish people. All empires are wrong. Subjugating all groups of people are wrong. Enslaving all groups of people. Killing people for land, glory, wealth, power, prestige is wrong. So there's no glory in any empire. And the Ottoman Empire specifically, for the reason for what I'm going to say now about what they've done to black people. So I read this book while I was here in Turkey. This book is written by a Turkish writer. It's written by a Turkish author. It's called Slavery in the Ottoman Empire and Its Demise in 1800 to 1909. And it's written by Hakan Erdem. I will put the title of this book. Maybe you can find it online. You can check it out. I got this here in Turkey. I didn't buy it anywhere else. In the book, they spoke about how in this 1 century, there were 4 slave routes to Turkey, okay? And these slave routes were from North Africa, the Red Sea, Iran, Iraq, and the Caucasian Georgian routes, okay? 3 out of those 4 carried black slaves. The only one that carried white slaves was the Caucasian Georgian route into the empire. In this 1 century, from 1800 to 1909, to let's say 1900, 10,000 people every year were imported into the Ottoman Empire. Now, if we're just being conservative, if half of those people were black, right, that would mean 5,000 people were imported in 5,000 black people were imported into the Ottoman Empire every year. Over a century, that's 500,000 people in just 1 century. Now, keep in mind, the Ottoman Empire lasted for well over 400, 500 years. In America, in the entire history of the United States, they only brought in 300,000 African slaves into the United States. Now in America, there are 40 million African Americans, including African immigrants, but that's a very, very, very small, negligible group. Here in Turkey, it's almost non-existent. Non-existent. Those millions and millions of black bodies, men who looked like me, men who could be my, me in another lifetime. If reincarnation is real, could have been me in a past lifetime. These men were transported across miles, kilometers, to be used as slaves and servants. And the only reason there are no black people here today is because these people were castrated. Literally, they had their genitalia cut off so they could not reproduce. And that is the only reason that there is a small Afro-Turkish population here today. It's because by and large, the majority of them were denied the opportunity to pass on their seed, their progeny. That's disgusting and sick, and it's damn near, it is genocide. It was genocide that was done to black people in the Ottoman Empire. So Turkish people, if you want to claim the Ottoman glory, you also got to take this L too. You have to accept that the Ottoman Empire did horrible things to black people. Stories that we'll never know, that have been lost to time and history. These people should have never had to go through that tragedy. And the sickest thing that you'll hear from Turkish people today, when you bring up the Ottoman slave trade, they will say slavery wasn't that bad when you compare it to the West or when you compare it to America. And I just put this blame on the ignorance in their education system when it comes to what happened in the Ottoman times regarding slavery. Most people don't learn about it in schools. Most people aren't educated about it, right? And that's a big fucking problem because it creates this myth, this idea that black people in the Ottoman Empire were just friends of the Sultan, that they had good lives, but these men were castrated. Their manhood was taken away from them. And that's the saddest thing. That's the saddest thing. So that's why Zenchi is a wrong word to say, and Zenchi should not, no black person should accept being called that. Let's talk a little bit about Ataturk. So Ataturk was the founder of modern Turkey after the fall of the empire, after World War I. And Ataturk had a quote that really bothered me when I started learning about him and learning about his history. Ataturk said that the only civilization is European civilization. And that's a paraphrase of a quote. Go look it up. I'm not making it up. Hell, I'll even put it in the descriptions. But Ataturk said the only civilization worth modeling is the European civilization. Now, Turkish people, I'm going to take your argument for a second. You guys would say, well, we don't want to be like the, Arabs who are backwards. We don't want to be like the Arabs who, put their women in bags and, have patriarchal, masculine, dominant societies. We don't want to go backwards. But when Ataturk said this, and I'm taking his credit that he was an intelligent, bright, sophisticated man. He had to know that European civilization, which almost a few years ago, when he said this, literally tried to divide Turkey up, steal Istanbul, make it an international city, you know, destroy the Turkish homeland, make it a colony. He had to know that European civilization was built on white supremacy, colonialism, slavery, destroying native civilizations, exterminating people. European Western civilization is built on death, destruction, bloodshed. There's nothing glorious about European civilization. So if Ataturk was actually as smart as I believe he would have known that. Now, my girlfriend has told me that the things that Ataturk did were mostly top down, right? So his beliefs were top down on society, and he was just trying to influence people who were very backward at the time. And I can maybe accept that argument, but I'm still very sick to my. It still makes me very sick to hear people, put European Western civilization on a pedestal when all it has done is destroyed lives across this planet. Um, I want to talk about being in an interracial relationship in Turkey. This goes back to the classics. Being black abroad in any context is tough, especially though if you're a black male dating non-black women or white adjacent women. Basically, people are paranoid. They have what's called negrophilophobia, the love and fear of the black body. And I have seen and witnessed with my own eyes people gawking, staring, pointing, laughing when I am out and about with my girlfriend, having coffee, having dinner, doing anything normal, right? And yeah, that's not cool. And a lot of this comes from the disgusting, sick images that are put out in the world from Western media and pornography and whatever myths that people pick up in the streets regarding the black man's genitalia and what dangles between his legs. Here in Turkey, there's a famous comedy called Gora. And this movie, Gora, is about a Turkish man who's abducted by aliens and taken to a different planet, blah, 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 blah. In the movie, there's another black character, and the main character makes a glance, a long protracted glance at his penis. And there's another black character who has disgusting facial features that are reminiscent of caricatures and blackface that they made of us in the last century, that still exists now, obviously. And that just goes to show that even in Turkey, a place far removed from America, there exists these disgusting sexualized images of black men in the Turkish mind and in the sphere of communication. And it's disgusting and sick, and it needs to stop. You know, please stop treating us like we're not human. Whatever sick fantasies you have regarding, black men, please don't make that be the reason you point, gawk, and stare when I'm out and about with the woman I love. Please. Um, I would be remiss if I didn't speak up for the Armenians and the Kurds who have been subjugated for many decades and centuries here. I think this goes in point to prove that if people don't even respect their own people, how do you think they would respect foreigners, especially black foreigners with negative stereotypes and reputations coming from abroad? Why do you think they would respect us and treat us well when Armenians, who look very much like Turkish people, and Kurds, who have been here for centuries and share the same religion with the Turks, why do you think they would treat us any differently? And within Turkish society, many people have many different phenotypes. There are dark-skinned Turkish people, but within the media and within society, light-skinned is considered beautiful. The Turks have a phrase, an expression that says, "When I was younger, I was blonde." And they say this in a way that sort of laments the loss of their Eurocentric features. And I'm making the point here to say that there are many dark-skinned people here who are Turkish, but they are not what's put out in the media. When you watch Turkish shows, when you look outside on billboards, you don't see dark-skinned Turks represented, right? So that's another point I'm trying to make here. There seems to be some inferiority complex within the Turks regarding Europe. Many people do want to immigrate. Um, Many people view European beauty standards as the ideal. You'll see many Turkish women dyeing their hair blonde and red and many other different colors to look like European women. I think a lot of that comes from self-help, self-hate. And as a black American, as a black person in the world, we are very familiar with that because our women, our people, men and women, try a lot in a lot of subtle ways to model European beauty standards because that's a symptom of white supremacy that's infected the planet. Uh, I'll end with this. There are many similarities I see between Turkey and America. I think America is a very nasal gazing country. We're very Amerocentric in our country, and we don't know a lot about the outside world, to be honest, right? Most Americans are not like me. They have not traveled and been different places and stuff like that. Uh, and I think Americans view ourselves as exceptional because of our history, our constitution, our rights, our achievements, our wars, that sort of thing. And Turkish people, in a way, view themselves as exceptional too because of what their history is with their empire, because of their hospitality, because of their welcoming nature. They view themselves as the bastions of humanity and protectors of humanity generally. When you look at Turkish media, a lot of the times the media seems to be focused on these Turkish heroes who stand up for what's right. And it seems like Turkish identity is built around this thing, which is actually a good thing. I don't see that as wrong. But what I do see as a problem is the lack of blemish. Turkish people or Turkish society has yet to acknowledge any blemishes on their past. This is why there's a denial of the Armenian genocide, denial of any systemic bias against Kurdish people within the state, and denial of any sort of anti-blackness. Because as soon as I make this video, someone is going to say that there's no racism in Turkey and everything I'm saying is a lie. But if you really want to dispute what I'm saying, I want you to do this. Don't leave a comment. I want you to pick up your phone, put that camera on your face, and I want you to say what it's like to be black in Turkey. If you are not black watching this, put the camera on and you turn it on you, and I want you to tell me what it's like to be black in Turkey. And we'll just laugh away. We'll laugh away together. So, yeah, Turkey seems to be very Eurocentric, and I know that comes from proximity, but Turkey also models itself as the place that's between East and West. So it bothers me to no end how they constantly try to denigrate their roots to the Islamic world and the darker peoples of the world, while at the same time wishing that they had lighter eyes, lighter hair, and putting emphasis on people who have those traits within Turkey as the standards of beauty. It's sick and disgusting, and it bothers me. I think about if I had a kid who was here, and regardless if I have a kid with a white woman or a black woman, my kid will be black, will be a darker skinned person, and will most likely be identified as black and African. I don't think that a black person who grows up here will be sane or healthy in the mind because of the images of what's put out as far as beauty and what is considered Turkish identity. Um, so I want to end by saying that most of the things that I've mentioned here have come from U.S. media. Turkey, by and large, is not to blame for its anti-blackness, though in a way, because of their history of slavery and the word zenchi and other things, I do think that Turkey does have some things that are independent of U.S. media influence that have created the racism and anti-blackness that exists within society. Um, Nonetheless, by and large, you know, Turkey is once again a victim of the white supremacist ideology that's spread all over the planet. Some good things I want to say about Turkey: they have great food, people are hospitable, and if you want to assimilate into Turkishness, much like in America, people don't know another language here by and large. So it's not like how in European societies where if you're black, right, and a lot of the times, unless it's France, Germany, Spain, or the UK, right, unless it's those places, or Italy, they're going to talk to you in English before they talk in the native language. Like in Serbia, they're talking to me in English before Serbian, or like in if I'm in Bosnia, they're talking to me in Bosnian, Serbian, whatever, before they talk to me. They're talking to me in English before they talk to me in Bosnian. You get the point. Here in Turkey, they'll talk to you in Turkish all day. So that's a good part in helping people assimilate into the culture. But because of blackness, there will always be that barrier as to acceptance. I'm pretty sure even if I spoke fluent Turkish and was out and about talking in the streets to people, people would still come up to me and ask, "Where are you from, really?" Not if I was Russian and I learned Turkish, right? And even if I had unless I had the accent, right? Um, Unless I had the accent of a Russian person who spoke Turkish, they wouldn't probably ask me where I was from. But because I'm black, even if I spoke Turkish fluently with no accent, people would be asking me where I'm from, which does not help the integration process of people into the society. I do not want this video to highlight or to help people who have Turkophobia or Islamophobia. When I was in Germany, I spoke up for the Turkish people who told me that they were harassed by the police. I do not want people to think that they can use what I say as a reason to vilify Turkish people. I love Turkish people. I love all people on the planet. Uh, and some people from the Balkans or other places that were subject of the Ottoman Empire might say, yeah, Turkey subjugated us too and they treated us bad. It was very, very different how they treated European slaves and African slaves. African slaves, by and large, were kept at the very, very bottom of society, castrated, not told to reproduce. And meanwhile, European slaves could become janissaries, could become the highest level of soldiers and military experts and civil servants within the Ottoman Empire. And I don't want any Balkan people to jump in here talking shit about Turkey. No, because your countries have a lot of anti-blackness too. And I have addressed that before, and I will continue to speak out. So I think that wraps it up. In conclusion, I think I did a pretty good job. Uh, Check out, come to Istanbul, come to Turkey. It's a great place. You'll have a great time. But black travelers, be warned, beware. Anti-blackness is here and it is alive. So hit the like button, subscribe, leave a comment, share. Thank you for tuning in, and peace.